Hammurabi's code in Mesopotamia, to Justinian code in Byzantium, to peace treaties from the Ottoman period or from modern Europe, shows us that peace is ensured through social and legal maturity, through the very phenomenon of fragmentation that has not bypassed Levant in its history. It has led to the complexity and variety of form of law, regardless of whether we are talking about different ethnic or religious groups. Our project will capitalize on all these cultural values and forms of law that have enriched world culture and provided humanity with the basis of conflict, mediation, peaceful coexistence, and sustainable governance. Through the debate within our conference project, we propose that the Levant Institute, an academic and cultural diplomacy force on the move, urges global decision makers to reflect and identify solutions for world peace based on the opinion of the most knowledgeable experts and conference speakers that we will include in the series of conferences, voices that can contribute to this desire. We are happy with the start of this project and we thank all the international experts who agreed to share their science and knowledge with us, and we assure them of our cooperation in the future, as well starting with the first speaker from this evening. Mrs. Emilia Justyna Powell, Professor of Political Science and concurrent Professor of Law at the University of Notre Dame. Thank you for participating in our project. The Institute of Advanced Studies in Levant Culture and Civilization is aware of how essential cultural debates are today, especially on topics that make us look deeply into history and understand the geopolitical and architectural context of global power, which allow us to figure out not only the present, but also enable us to design and envisage the world's future. Our institute was born through the Levant Initiative for Global Peace project, an idea I launched in December 2011 at the Academy of Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin. This initiative was assumed by the Interparliamentary Coalition for Global Ethics and resumed in Bucharest in May 2013 during the forum, international forum, the Levant, the cradle of cultural diplomacy, rediscovering the Mediterranean. It is our duty to come up with initiatives to understand and form predictions and projections about the architectural power of tomorrow's world. The history of law is one of these functions that can enable us to find solutions for tomorrow's world, seek peace and understanding, see differences in a creative way, and mediate when conflict arises. In order to bring to public opinion examples for ancient, medieval, modern or contemporary history from the culture of Levantine and Oriental legal culture, it is necessary to unite the best experts around this project of our institute. This way we can generate a debate platform that looks into the history of the space of the Levant, where sciences, law, and democracy were born, and to offer us expertise for our objectives of promoting cultural diplomacy, the culture of peace, tolerance, and understanding between people. The Institute of Advanced Studies in Levant, Culture and Civilization is launching this project of academic conferences devoted to culture of law in the history of the Balkans and the Middle East. This should lead to the dissemination of historical knowledge about sources of law, with special emphasis on public, private, and religious law texts from a historical and contemporary perspective. The aim of the project is to highlight the importance of the history of law in the Levant through colloquiums and conferences about international law treaties and their reception in the spirit of regional and global peace. It is no coincidence that we are starting this project in 2023. On one hand, we are celebrating the centenary anniversary of the adoption of the first constitution of reunified Romania after the Great Union in December 1st, 1918, which was adopted on March 28, 1923. On the other hand, in the context of Russia's aggression in Ukraine, we see how important the opinion of experts in the culture of international law are today for peace to return among people. Sir Hamilton G., an Orientalist from Harvard University, wrote 15 years ago that it is a need for interdisciplinarity in the social sciences because the Middle East should not be left only with one category of researchers. Our institute collaborated with linguists, historians, psychologists, specialists in the dialogue of monotheistic religions, philosophers. Now, it is a turn of the expert in cooperation with the security experts, historians of law, mediators, to work together on a response to other challenges of the present and to the shocks of the future. The Levant was included in the initiative of the European Union through the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership launched in 1995 in Barcelona. But the implementation process proved to be long and fragile. Despite the Union for the Mediterranean initiative of 2008, regional political and socio-economic collaboration has not lived up to expectation. The achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals launched by the United Nations in 2015 can only be achieved in a peacetime, as social problems, hunger, lack of water and hygiene are the result of conflicts and wars. They cannot be solved by resorting to military force, but by dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect. This case applies not only in the Levant, but today it is a common case that can be found in several regions of the world, and we see it even in the proximity of Europe, is the aggression carried out by Russia in Ukraine. Looking at the history of the culture of law, from Hammurabi's code in Mesopotamia to Justinian code in Byzantium,
to peace treaties from the Ottoman period or from modern Europe shows us that peace is ensured through social and legal maturity, through the very phenomenon of fragmentation that has not bypassed Levant in its history. It has led to the complexity and variety of form of law, regardless of whether we are talking about different ethnic or religious groups. Our project will capitalize on all these cultural values and forms of law that have enriched world culture and provided humanity with the basis of conflict mediation, peaceful coexistence, and sustainable governance. Through the debates within our conference project, we propose that the Levant Institute, an academic and cultural diplomacy force on the move, urges global decision makers to reflect and identify solutions for world peace based on the opinion of the most knowledgeable experts and the conference speakers that we will include in the series of conferences, voices that can contribute to this desire. We are happy with the start of this project, and we thank all the international experts who agreed to share their science and knowledge with us, and we assure them of our cooperation in the future, as well starting with the first speaker from this evening. Mrs. Emilia Justyna Powell, a professor of political science and a concurrent professor of law at the University of Notre Dame. Thank you for participating in our project.